podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
32 teams started out on the road to the Super Bowl. Now, just 2 remain. That's right, this Sunday, in Santa Clara Levi Stadium, it'll be the Seattle Seahawks taking on the New England Patriots for the Lombardi Trophy and a chance to write their names in the history books. So what are we waiting for? Let's turn that page and look ahead to Super Bowl 60.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I am your host, Richard Graves, and this is what it's all about. We were there at the start for the Eagles hosting the Cowboys way back in September, and we're taking you to the end. Super Bowl 60, Levi Stadium, Sunday, the 8th of February, Seahawks, Patriots, and as he's been throughout the postseason, joining me for the ride, all the way from India, Daggers, Charles Dagnall, great to see you.
Oh, great to see you, and great to be here. God, when you say about the Eagles Cowboys, it seems a lifetime ago. And then we get to this stage of the season, and obviously we're building up to the Super Bowl 60. And then next week, we're both going to be, I can tell you this, and many other supporters and NFL fans will be of similar ilk by thinking that, oh, it's gone now. We've got to wait until September for it all to start over again. And it seems
8
like
long months.
It will never come. But there's plenty to keep us entertained until then. That said, very excited about the Super Bowl and just great fun joining you again. A little bit of India in the background for you there, just to prove that I'm here in Vadodara. Final game tomorrow, the WPL final that I've been covering. So looking forward to getting home to the wet and windy and horrible conditions rather than the 30 degrees of sunshine that we've been having out here.
Oh, trust me, Daggers, you are not going to be ready. It has been fairly horrific for the last few weeks now, and there's no sign of it letting up. Leaden grey skies, miserly weather, never getting above 5-6 degrees. I know we were speaking before we started recording, you saying you'd been out and played golf today. I've played a bit of golf over the last few weeks. It's all preferred lies, winter mats, sloshing around in your waders. It's chalk and cheese, Daggers.
Yeah. I say I'm looking forward to getting home. I'm looking forward to getting home and seeing the familiar faces that I've missed for a month. Not looking forward to the conditions, put it that way. But it's winter time in England, and I'm very lucky to have been here for a month anyway. So very much looking forward to getting home.
And we're obviously lucky and thankful that you've been joining us for the postseason as well in the NFL. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, holding to the screen is a Super Bowl 50 ball. I got this in San Francisco 10 years ago when the Bay Area last hosted the Super Bowl. One of only 500, a limited edition made at the time. Of course, I know, just drop that in there. You like that?
Yeah.
It was the game that saw Peyton Manning ride off into the sunset in his Hall of Fame career as the Broncos came out on top of the Panthers. And many people, me included, Daggers, thought the Broncos were going back to the big dance in the Bay Area this time. Of course, it didn't happen. How many times have we said on this show, in the postseason, I don't want to hear about analytics, play the game situation. In snowy, wintry weather, Denver could have gone 2 scores up. Sean Payton said, no, I know better than this, with a backup quarterback who hasn't had a snap of the ball all season barely. 4th and 4, I'm not going to kick the field goal. That's a chip shot. I'm going to go for it. And on that play, the whole game changed. And that is why the New England Patriots, led by Mike Vrabel, are in the Super Bowl this time and will face Seattle.
Analytics in sport. And look, we are... There is a sort of ongoing battle, and I tweeted about this, and it's something that does grind my gears a little bit, that analytics in sport are very, very important. They are very, very useful, and they're an instructional tool, but that's all they are. They are a tool. Nothing can tell you or can get away from a gut feel decision on the field at that particular time. All analytics can do is assist, and they are not.
They've got to be used in context.
Absolutely right, and they are there to assist decisions, maybe lay out game plans or plans against certain defenses that you read, or certain offenses, or what you see or what you read, and I think they are an invaluable tool for that. There is nothing that tells you about the forecast when it comes to analytics. What we knew is that these snow flurries were coming in around about half time. And I know they may have come, they may not have come, but it's a little bit, I'm going to use a cricket terminology here, so excuse me, it's a little bit like getting the runs on the board. Get your score on the board.
Scoreboard pressure.
You're playing in scoreboard pressure. You're 2 scores down. It gives the New England Patriots a different outlook to their next series, their next drive, knowing that if they score, they're not going to be on level terms. They've still got to score again, etc., etc. And I think in playoff football, it changes the outlook completely. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that decision is the main reason as to why the Broncos are not in Super Bowl 60. It was crazy carnage. We were, you can shout at the television screen, and it's sort of this idea that, I know better I know something you don't. And actually, careers that can be made or defined by situations like that. You may not have a better chance of going to a Super Bowl. It is so unlikely. And you think of the thousands of coaches and thousands of players that don't have the opportunity to go to a Super Bowl. And that may well have been it for Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. No, it may not. But you don't know down the line. And those decisions are so, so important to nail it right. And I think it's all very well saying this in hindsight, Richard. Don't know what you think about this, but a lot of people, me included, you included, were saying that at the time. And that is the difference.
We've discussed this right throughout the playoffs on this podcast. Yeah. Remember, go back to the Jags against the Bills in the wild card round, and the Jags going for it on 4th down. Take the points. You end up losing because you have to score a touchdown instead of getting a field goal at the end in Jacksonville's case. And there were numerous examples of this throughout the course of the postseason. San Francisco, I think, got away with it, if I remember correctly, in Philadelphia. But, there are more instances than not of turning down points, trying to convert a 4th down. And when you get to the end of the game, you then look back and think, if we'd just taken those 3 points. Play the game situation. And also, to back up what you were just saying about you don't know when you're going to get back to the big dance, get back to the Super Bowl. Classic example of that. One of this weekend's participants, the Seattle Seahawks. I was fortunate. My first Super Bowl on location was in New York, Super Bowl 48. The Seahawks go in there and they beat the Broncos. The very next year, they go back to Arizona with a Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson at quarterback. And we'll discuss this a little bit more as we go on. But in hugely controversial circumstances, again, a play coaching decision. They lose to the New England Patriots, this weekend's opponents. But at that point, the Legion of Boom, just been to back-to-back Super Bowls, won one, lost one. This was the start of a run for them. Do you know how many times since they've been back, Daggers? A big fat 0. This is the first time. It's taken them 11 years to get back to this point. And the remarkable thing about it is the only common denominator they have in terms of the roster setup is general manager John Schneider. Not one of the players was there the last time at the Super Bowl. The head coach isn't the same one that was there the last time they were at the Super Bowl. It's been a complete transformation and turnover. And this organization that was set for a run over a prolonged period of time, they never got back. And this is why it's important. I've raved about the Broncos defense all season long. And Sean Payton, they gave up a lot. They traded picks away to get him for just these moments. And the bottom line is you look back on it now and you think, is that the moment? Will they get back? How will Bo Nix come back next season? But be that as it may, Daggers, they are not in this conversation.
No,
because New England did advance. And you look at these two organizations, and the one thing that strikes me about both of them is how fresh they both feel. New England, over half their roster this season is completely different to what it was last season. 12 of their 22 starters this season weren't even on the team last season. You look at what the Seattle Seahawks have done with John Schneider, Mike McDonald, second-year head coach for them. They made some big decisions. Obviously a few years ago, Russell Wilson was traded away. But DK Metcalf, star wide receiver, gone this past off season. And they bring in veterans like DeMarcus Lawrence, who Dallas felt was washed up and didn't need to give a new contract to. He's been a revelation on that defensive line. Cooper Kupp brings experience to the receiving corps. Jackson Smith and Jigba leading the league in receiving yards. I am excited about this matchup.
Totally. And I think they've made one of the best in-season trades that I can remember.
Oh, yes.
And that addition of Rashid Shaheed. And because obviously you look at the season that Jackson Smith and Jigba has, and God, how does he get so open when originally Rashid Shaheed wasn't there and they had very limited passing options actually, but still, whether it's scheme, whether it's, the player himself, he still manages to put up stratospheric numbers this year. But the addition of Rashid Shaheed, the fact that he brings that element of burning pace, kickoff returns, jet sweeps, the things that you can do with him and to take focus away from JSN as well, plus that running game that they've got. I think that's one of the best in-season trades for a long, long time to go and pick up him. And that has added, I think, a different and an exciting dimension to the Seattle run. And I think he has really paid off in spades towards this back end of the season and into the playoffs.
I completely agree with you. And somebody who I have openly questioned in these podcasts that I am now being won around by is the quarterback at Seattle, Sam Darnold. And it's fascinating. You have opening night, what used to be called media night, and usually stories that you didn't know come out of it. And I've been disappointed this year by the lack of stories around players and characters and background information. So I did a little bit of digging myself, and Sam Darnold, what a story he's got. You go back to his grandfather, brilliantly named Dick Hammer. And he was something of an athlete himself. Back in the 50s, he played collegiate basketball at USC, went all the way to the Final Four. From there, went on to represent the United States volleyball team in the Olympics. They didn't do that well in the Japan Games of 64, but he was still there playing for the United States. Came back, decided that sport wasn't really for him. From the California area, Hollywood, I'll try my arm at acting. So ends up appearing in a series that was based around paramedics and firefighters. It was called Emergency 1972. Oh, it was in 1972, called Emergency. He lasts all of 10 episodes in the first series. Suddenly decides, nah, this isn't for me. I want to be a real firefighter. Quits the show, goes to be a real firefighter. You can't script this sort of stuff. No. And whilst he's doing that, gets a call. You remember Marlboro, the cigarette firm, and the Marlboro Man? He ends up being one of the Marlboro men on the printed adverts.
Oh, really?
And this is all in Sam Darnold's lineage, and now he's at the Super Bowl.
I mean, he was an iconic figure. The Marlboro Man on those enormous advertising boards. And don't forget, smoking's bad, kids. But back in, that was sort of American heritage, wasn't it? Going along the freeways and seeing the Marlboro Man sort of rotating on those on those big advertising hoardings around the. What a hell of a story! And one thing I was going to ask was that, and just sort of dip into your experience of covering Super Bowls, and you have been to Santa Clara and you have covered Super Bowl 50. It seemed to me, I mean, firstly, what is the circus like around about sort of 2 to 3 days prior to the Super Bowl or the build-up to Super Bowl week, specifically in that area? You've experienced it. What give us a little bit of insight into what the experience is like?
Well, the Bay Area is a little bit different, and this is one of the things that's already coming through, the fact that everything is so spread out. That Levi Stadium is in Santa Clara, best part of an hour's drive away from downtown San Francisco. The players are in San Jose and in accommodation outside the city, so they're not really in the middle of it. So around the stadium itself, right up until game day, there is next to nothing. Now, in San Francisco, certainly 10 years ago, the fan parks, the areas, the attractions, Radio Row, that's all in downtown San Francisco by the ferry area, Fisherman's Wharf. You've got the Golden Gate Bridge, obviously, and what so on as well. Now, What I'll also say that I'll throw into this mix, and this might have been because we're in the midst of a time when New England were forever in the Super Bowl. The Patriots fans didn't tend to arrive until maybe the Friday before the game. Seahawks fans, they'll come in numbers from Wednesday afternoon, Thursday onwards. And once the 12s get into town, boy, do you know about it. They are loud. They make themselves known. There's a great atmosphere around the place. Now, as I say, the one caveat to all this is in the Bay Area, everything's really spread out. So that might dilute it a little bit. But really, Super Bowl week isn't going to crank up properly in terms of the atmosphere and fan interaction until late Thursday afternoon onwards.
Okay. It also looked, when I was having a look at some of the pictures from Media Day, was that it seemed a little sparse, unless they've used an enormous room and everybody is spread out a little bit further. But it didn't seem to have the... I don't know what that was just the way it transpired, or it seemed to me, sort of watching on and seeing some of the pictures and some of the footage.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
It wasn't as intense as it has been in the past. Is that fair?
It might have been a bit of logistics as well, because I'm led to believe that the San Jose Sharks may well have been playing on Monday night. Now, 10 years ago, it was their arena that was used for opening night. And you've obviously got seating and fans can come in and watch, and they have little radio dials and they can tune in to whatever riser they want to hear from whatever player, and the media on the arena floor interacting with the players who aren't on their own individual risers. Now, from what I can see this year, it seems to be very much just a convention centre room. I was told by broadcasters that were there attending, there wasn't really any seating for fans, so you had them queuing outside and they're waiting in lines to grab 30 seconds with players as they come through sort of a tunnel area to grab photos, selfies, and autographs, so on. And consequently, you see the wide-angled shots, and like I said, nobody appears to be there. So it, again, seemed very different, very strange. I am not sure it's an instance we'll see repeated going forward. Yeah,
it just seemed that way to me. Anyway, I just wanted to, because obviously you've been there, you've done it, and you've sampled it, and so that little sort of insight that I've not gotten, I'm sure many others, is very interesting to us. So we shall wait to see more sort of, the build-up of the sort of upcoming to the weekend, or maybe Thursday, Friday and Saturday, just to get a little bit more chaotic in that kind of area.
Yeah, I promise you, come Friday, San Francisco will be a buzz with Patriots fans and Seahawks fans. There will be a great atmosphere around there for sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing Sam Darnold in action again on Sunday, just because he's got a great backstory and it would come full circle, which would be superb. Equally, one man that might be flying under the radar for New England. Everybody talks about Drake May and Stephon Diggs and Mike Vrabel and so on. What about defensive tackle Milton Williams? And some people, who? What? Well, he's one of those rare players that has the opportunity to go back-to-back in the Super Bowl. That's right. He was part of the Philadelphia Eagles team that took care of the Kansas City Chiefs 12 months ago. And listen to this, 12 career playoff games. As a defensive tackle, he's got 5 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. He'll become the 6th player ever on an active roster to win back-to-back Super Bowls with different teams if the Patriots win their 7th in the franchise's history on Sunday.
Again, the penny didn't drop for me whatsoever regarding Milton Williams. He should be on the biggest contract in the world, given his record and obviously opportunity to pick up another ring. But there's so many. I was obviously knowing it was going to be New England and Seattle, and sort of over the last sort of 2 or 3 days, just meandering outside of work and just sort of thinking about X versus Y and how is this player going to match up with another? How's Drake May going to cope with this? And how's Sam Darnold? And, the weather is obviously going to be a lot better than it was for Drake May. So we might actually get more of a Drake May performance, because having to deal with those conditions in Denver, especially in the second half, And I don't think we've seen a great deal of Drake May over the course of this playoffs. Not that his play has gone downhill, not at all, but he's faced up to 3 very, very tough defenses. He's got another one that he's got to deal with on Sunday against Seattle. But, they've managed to get through those three tough defenses in the Chargers and the Texans and the Broncos. So, it's not like they've got anything coming that they're not ready for. So the matchups are intriguing.
Well, we hear constantly, don't we? Defense wins championships. Well, you pick the bones out of this because
which one?
you've got two of the best in terms of points allowed in this game. And the Seattle Seahawks, with a number one ranked scoring defense in the NFL through the regular season, giving up 17.2 a game. They're actually giving up fewer points if you throw in the playoffs as well. That's down to 17.1 a game. The New England Patriots finished the regular season giving up a lick over 18 points a game. Include the playoffs into that equation, they're giving up 17.3 points per game. And what I think you've seen over the course of the playoffs with the inclement weather that the Patriots have had to deal with generally is Drake May, especially after that game against the Houston Texans in Denver. It appeared to me the number one aim of that game was not to give it away. Do not turn the ball over. And ultimately, we can talk about Sean Payton turning down the field goal, but what decided the game? Jarrett Stidham turning the ball over inside his own 20. New England weren't in that game up until that point. They punched that in, tie it up at 7 apiece, different ball game, and the Patriots go on to win it. So when you look at this, two very good defenses. I sent you the line yesterday just to prepare you this, Daggers. I don't want to be the one ever accused of throwing things on you, Charles Dagnall, but the total points marked for the game is 45.5 points. Is that about right? Or given that we've got two really stingy defenses, is that a little bit too high?
It seems right to me in my mind, because these are, as good as the defenses are, these are still two very, very, you look at what Seattle have done and the points that they've put up over the course of the season. And similarly, you look at the regular season and people may say, well, look at the New England Patriots schedule. But, Drake May's thrown for over 4,000 yards. He's 31 touchdowns. He's 8 interceptions. He's got two. Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson behind him, two, it's not even thunder and lightning. It's more thunder and heavier thunder. And the ability to break big gains on both of those running backs. You look at the tight ends that New England have got. They've got Stephon Diggs, who's put in a career season, or one of his best seasons in his career. So I look at Keyshawn Boutte, and so these are not offenses that are going to flap in the face of. They do have weapons on both sides. You go over to Seattle. Sam Darnold, and the biggest question that was thrown of Sam Darnold is, can you go and win the big game? That was the slight that was thrown at him when he was in Minnesota last year, and he collapsed like a flan in a cupboard in the playoffs last year. Not so in the game that mattered against the Los Angeles Rams. He
was outstanding.
He outplayed Matt Stafford, over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, made some beautiful throws as well. And then you look at what they've got in Kenneth Walker, who's hit the ground. I don't know if you've spotted this week on social media. It's been really funny, and this is what does make me laugh about social media. There was a couple of tweets going around, people complaining, non-Seahawks fans complaining, I should say. Well, why didn't you use Kenneth Walker more in the regular season? He's a number one back. Why didn't you use him more? Well, maybe with Zach Charbonnet there as well, splitting the load, that Kenneth Walker is actually fit and fresh and hitting the playoffs hard, exactly how Seattle. But people still manage to complain about it. Cooper Kupp, you brought Cooper Kupp in on this 3-year, $45 million deal, and what have you seen? They're in the Super Bowl. What are you talking about? Why are you going on about? Do you think Seattle care about what they're paying Cooper Kupp and the production because of it? He has made some really, really important catches as Cooper Kupp. They couldn't care less about the contract he's in because they're in the big dance. So there is lots of offense to go around, and I think these are two sides that now Sam Darnold has won that game. Out-dueling Matt Stafford in that game is a big notch on the bedpost for him. I think that is a really, really big deal. And so I actually think the pressure is off. just a little bit on Sam Darnold. The questions can stop. Now he's gone and won those big games, and he's at the dance. So they've got two slightly differing stories from a quarterback point of view. But I still think you can move the ball, given the quality that is in the offenses, despite these being two stellar defenses. So I reckon 20 points. Can you score 20 points on Seattle? Yeah, crikey. Tampa Bay scored 38 on them. But can you score against both of these defenses? Yes. And the conditions, as we expect them to be, are good. I love the battles. I think that if you do score, the adjustments that both sides can make on the defensive side of the ball are mouth-watering. So I reckon I don't see it being a sort of 9-6 at half-time field goal fest. I can actually see points being scored, and around about 43 seems right to me.
Yeah, I think. I think there were a couple of opportunities for Sam Darnold to get really tight in that NFC Championship game. And we saw it 12 months ago when he played for the Vikings against the Rams, ironically enough, and the Vikings were never in the game. Well, this time around, Sam Darnold was asked the questions and he came up with the answers. That was the impressive thing for me, and that's why he's begun to win me over. Equally, on the other side of the field, you've got a second-year quarterback in Drake May who's progressed in leaps and bounds. Whatever Mike Vrabel has worked with him on has worked. He's finished the season with just a lick under 5,000 passing yards. Phenomenal for, people don't associate that with this New England Patriots offense. And you see what's happened in the playoffs. And I mentioned the turnovers that he had against the Houston Texans in fairly horrific conditions, and how conservative I felt he was in the AFC Championship game, but he didn't turn the ball over. And suddenly you've got a really well-balanced team. And both offenses, to be fair, finished the regular season scoring on average just over 28 points a game. The Seattle Seahawks with a number 3 ranked scoring offense, the New England Patriots, number 2 ranked scoring offense. So what you've got here is complementary football. And this isn't my pick, by the way, but I will say this. I've seen the early line for New England Patriots team points in this game, and it stands at just 19.5 points. I'm telling you, I'm taking over that all day long. I know how good the Seattle Seahawks defense is, but Drake May's a guy that can make plays with his arm and with his legs. They've got a defense that can take the ball away. That team will score at least 20 points in this game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you make a great point about the plays that he made with his legs, especially in the playoffs. What was it? Only 86 passing yards against Denver, which is understandable given the conditions. But the plays that he makes with his legs, and that is something that he has over Sam Darnold, of course. But he manages to keep the chains moving down the field. He throws. What I love about Drake May as well, and similarly this year with Sam Darnold. Yes, the first half of the season for Sam Darnold, he was playing out of his skin. He became more of a kind of game manager in the second half of the season. And look, it's a long season and you can have dips in form. You can also get out of that as well, which he seemed to do in the NFC Championship game. Drake May, what I like about him is his 3-level throwing, is the fact that he's got the arm to throw the 10-yard outs. He's got the arm to sort of just get over the second level, over the linebackers and before the safeties. I like the fact that he can throw a good deep ball. He throws a very pretty ball, a very tight spiral, and his accuracy has been absolutely outstanding this year. I think, if memory serves, he was something like in the regular season, throwing at 72%. Pass accuracy. I might need that checking, but I think that was the number I read. So there's so much to like about this, and you hit the nail on the head. He's a second-year quarterback. He's getting this experience now. I'm not saying that he'll be better for it if he loses, but he's desperate to go out and win. But to get to that kind of level and to be playing the way he has, credit has to go to Josh McDaniel and the way that he has set it up for him and the tools that he has available. I'm with you. I would take the over on that. I don't think I'd take a huge over. I don't see it being a 35-35 shootout because these two defenses are built more stoutly than that, but I see them scoring over 20 points, definitely. Both sides.
I completely agree. And one man who won't be on the field, but it's a big game for as well, is the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, Clint Kubiak. This will be his last game as offensive coordinator in Seattle because he takes up the poison chalice of head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders from next season. But what he has done with Sam Darnold, the weapons that have been put around, the way he's devised a scheme to utilize them and make this an explosive offense that has threats from all areas of the field as well. The Patriots defense, as good as it is, as good as Mike Vrabel is in scheming plays and counteracting the opposition, they are going to have their hands full Sunday.
Do you think that in a situation like this, because we know so much and they will have so much film and they will know all the stats and the facts and who they're up against, Clint Kubiak, Josh McDaniel, to me, do you think that they might just actually go towards the back of that playbook? And we might see, because I believe the difference in these sides could be a play, a turnover, a broken coverage, just a moment that can change a game, because I do think they are so well matched up. Do you think we might actually see Josh McDaniel and Clint Kubiak, just rather than use the first 100 pages, maybe go towards the back chapters and we could see something a little bit that we haven't seen for the entirety of the season?
Well, if they don't, there's something wrong. Look, there is no tomorrow. One of the dumbest questions I heard asked on media night was to Mike Vrabel, the New England Patriots head coach, is this a must-win game? Well, of course it's a must-win game. The season's on the line. What sort of question is that? Lose, it's over. Win, you become part of history. It's the Lombardi Trophy. This is what you play for. So you leave nothing at all on the field. And whether it's Clint Kubiak, Josh McDaniels, they will pull out all the stops. But if you're looking for some sort of example, I don't know, off the top of my head, say you're inside, I don't know, the final 60, 90 seconds, game on the line, down by 4, and it's first and goal, say, from the 3-yard line. Do you run the ball or do you pass it?
Are you asking me?
I am asking you, and I do it with a smile on my face because, I don't know, the last time these two teams met, there was a pretty much identical scenario. And the Seahawks with Marshawn Lynch in the backfield decided not to run it.
Hand the damn thing off, and Malcolm Butler is there waiting to pick it off because they'd seen the play before, and it was when he first and goal from the 3, and you've got Marshawn Lynch in the back. Yeah. I mean, crikey, that will still be the thing of nightmares for Seahawks fans. But I just think that we're going to see some stuff, both offensively and defensively. Some of this, I can't wait to see some of the schemes that the defenses are going to line up. Stuff that will throw maybe Sam Darnold off his game. Over the course of this, and I stress, the Patriots have played against some serious defenses in this playoff run. But Drake May has been sacked 15 times. They have managed to get to him. What's Mike McDonald going to scheme up? Especially in the defensive front. So I can't wait to see some of the schemes and the matchups that these coordinators will manage to conjure from their minds, especially on the big day. Stuff that they're not seen again, that will surprise them, that may just sort of be the difference between these two sides. That's the thing I'm looking forward to most.
Okay, let's look at it then and call this game, because, like I say, it's one I'm eagerly anticipating. I've already said I think 19.5 points for team score for the New England Patriots is too low. They're definitely scoring at least 20 points. But the Seahawks are heavy favourites. The line's 4.5 points in their favour, 4.5 point favourites. Where do you see this game being won and lost? And do they cover, or do New England cause the upset, Daggers?
I don't see them covering. I see them winning, and I think it's a field goal. I think that is going to be the difference between the two sides. I think Seattle will win it. I think the NFC has been stronger this year. I honestly believe that, and I think from that championship game, I said to myself, whoever wins the Rams Seahawks game, I believe, is going to go on to win the Super Bowl, and I will stick with that. But I don't. I really do think we are going to get a close one. I think they're so well matched. And I even think, if a side does go up by 2 scores, if it is a 10-point, I don't think it is something that will completely, I don't see a blowout in any shape or form. So I don't think they cover the spread. I'll take the Patriots on that. But I think Seattle will win. I think they'll win by a field goal, and I could even see it being a last second field goal for that. So that's where I'm leaning. I think Seattle win the game. I think it's going to be a close one, a sort of 27-24 type of game is what I'm envisioning. Where will the game be won and lost? I honestly think the game will be won and lost on a turnover. I think that is what I see. I think it is. It's going to be a moment. It's going to be a breakout run. It's going to be a busted coverage. It's going to be a turnover. And I think with these two defenses, they're quite astute at causing them. So that's where I see it, Richard Graves. Tell me I'm wrong, because I'm sure you will, because agreement is never our thing on this. Very rarely we do. But I'll tell you what, over the course of when we're picking sort of 4 or 5 games, we might agree on 3, we'll disagree on 3. We've got one game. Richard Graves. Come on, hit me with it.
Well, that reminds me, I haven't brought the listeners up to date with our overall records in the postseason. I am 10-2 in outright picks. Against the line, the record is 7-5. Charles Dagnall, I can't even remember his record was that bad against the line. So we'll spare your blushes. It all comes down to this. Super Bowl 60, Sunday, February the 8th, Santa Clara, Levi Stadium. The Seahawks are 4.5-point favourites. I'm like you. I think one play may turn this. And I go all the way back to the only Super Bowl Seattle has ever won in New York City, Super Bowl 48. And a play right out of the gate at the start of the third quarter. I can't for the life of me now remember the wide receiver's name who they traded to Minnesota to get, but he takes the kickoff to the house. A special teams play. You mentioned his name earlier. Raheem Shaheed, is that right? The wide receiver they traded for from the New Orleans Saints midway through the season. We've seen him do it already in the postseason. Do not be surprised if he produces a moment of magic again. He has got pace to burn, and New England will have to be wary of him when it comes to special teams. Equally, in a game between two really, really top-notch defenses, one thing I've seen is that just occasionally this young New England Patriots side get a bit over-eager on defense. We saw it in the AFC Championship game when they're expecting Jarrett Stidham just to dump the ball off and he takes a shot deep. Well, who's taken shots deep this season? It's Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Shaheed, Cooper Kupp. You've got the weapons to do it. If you're stretching a defense down the length of the field, that then in theory opens up the running game as well for the likes of Kenneth Walker. So I like Seattle in this. I'm looking at that line. 4.5 points. To cover that, you have to win by 5. It is a lot in a game of this nature. You just don't see the New England Patriots getting blown out of games this season. And I don't think it happens here on Sunday. So unbelievably daggers.
Oh my God.
I am with you.
I'm so glad I went first.
I am picking the Seahawks to win, but I will take the New England Patriots to cover. It's a chance for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots to make history. No player has played for and won the Super Bowl and then coached the same team to win the Super Bowl as well. That's what the opportunity is for Mike Vrabel. Personally, I know he'll turn around and say, that doesn't bother me. But that's a moment for history. For the Patriots as an organisation, no team has ever won 7 Lombardi trophies. That's what the opportunity that lies ahead of them here on Sunday. But for the Seattle Seahawks, it's a chance for the fans, at least, if not the players involved on Sunday, to lay a few ghosts to rest. Avenge Super Bowl 49, claim their 2nd Lombardi trophy, and for Sam Darnold as well, a first-round pick with the New York Jets all those years back, bumped around the NFL, backup to Brock Purdy in San Francisco, had a great season with the Vikings, but they didn't believe in him. They let him walk out of the door. They weren't willing to pay him. And John Schneider and the Seahawks said, you know what? Your loss is our gain. We'll take him and bring him up here to the Pacific Northwest. And this Sunday, folks, he repays that faith. Takes Seattle to win the game. It might not be by covering the 4.5-point spread, but the Lombardi Trophy is going to the Pacific Northwest, and it'll be held by the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, look at that. Would you credit it? We're actually so aligned on this particular... And that's the beauty of it, though, Richard, isn't it? Is that I don't think I've looked forward to a Super Bowl as well. Look, we both look forward to the Super Bowl every single year. That's a given. But I just think that this... You mentioned the statistics earlier on. The way that both of these offenses played all season, both of these defenses, they are so complementary. They are so well balanced. They are so well coached, both from the head coaching side of things, but the coordinators as well. And I think this is a genuine, I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a slugfest. I don't think it's going to be a defensive struggle. I think it's just going to be a really, really good, tight game of NFL football of the two, what I believe, actually the two best sides of the year. And I have to say, though, I look at Sam Darnold and you cannot help but root for the guy. Given the situation that he went to in New York, then to go to Carolina, be one of two backups like sort of Baker Mayfield as well, and then to go to San Francisco, be a backup there, go to Minnesota, get fired off after a 14-win season in Minnesota, which is just crazy to me. It was only because of one game. Well, people learn, people adapt, they get better, and then to have this season that he's had and overcome the obstacles that he has. The guy's a class act. Not once has he ever complained. Not once has he sort of moaned about the fact that he's in the situation that he's in. I root for him. I hope he does it. And let's be honest, the New England Patriots, they're not going to be far away over the next decade or so with that guy at the helm either. And I feel for the AFC East teams as well, who have had 20 years of the New England Patriots domination, and now there's a good chance they've got another decade or so further on. So can't wait for it, Rich. Can't wait. I'm glad we align. I'm glad we're of similar thoughts.
It scares me, quite frankly, Daggers. Yes, it scares me.
It's so alien for us to be in the situation where we agree. It's a little disconcerting.
Okay, well, Daggers, look, it's been brilliant having you on this show for the entirety of the postseason. I believe we agreed last time as well. We will return ahead of the NFL draft, which takes place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on April the 23rd. Yes, so we'll offer our pearls of wisdom for that. I look forward to having your company again for the NFL draft this spring, Daggers. But most of all, I look forward not only to seeing the Seahawks deliver on my prophecy, but finally completing the circle and fulfilling the legacy of one brilliantly named Dick Hammer.
Dick Hammer. It's just too good. It's just too good. I love it. I love it.
And on that note, folks, enjoy the Super Bowl this Sunday. It's going to be a barnstormer, and we hope, fingers crossed, it lives up to the hype. Everything points to an absolute classic. And we'll be back, myself and Charles Dagnall, ahead of the NFL draft in April. If you want to hit us up in the meantime, do so on social media, at Richard Graves1 on X, RDG Media UK on Instagram, and Richard Graves RDG Media UK on Facebook. Daggers, where are you?
I'm at Charles Dagnall on X and on Instagram as well. And we love hearing from you. So if anything you want to ask, or if you've comments, or if you think we're completely barking mad, then that's fine too. Get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you, and hopefully you will enjoy it as we do. And we love guessing about the game, and we just can't wait to get together and talk some more NFL, especially in April. But have a great Super Bowl, and thanks, Richard, for inviting me throughout this playoffs.
Now, it's been a pleasure having you. Have a safe flight back from India over the next few days, Daggers, and say so long.
So long, Daggers.
So long, everybody. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts. And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.